Secrets of the Ferns, Chapter 6, The Hostel. And so the faceless man in black told me another tale that I will recount to you. The hostel around us was thinning out as the patrons went to their rooms, and the kitchen closed for the night. He said, "You know this place has history, right?" And this is what he told me as I finished up my milk and cookies. An elderly man in the village once took pity on a troubled young man. He had been jailed 3 times for stealing food from the market. He was starving, so the elderly man with green eyes and a black beard took the young man into his home. He fed him, taught him how to grow food, taught him the poetry of the times, and shared with him his mead and his songs. The young man grew to be loved by many as a responsible and upright villager, but he still felt the sting inside of his chest as he saw the poor and the hungry in the streets. "Sir, you have helped me from a life of crime and starvation. You picked me up when I needed it the most. I see some villagers who are in a place very much like I was once, and I can't help but want to help them like you helped me." The old man sighed and said, "Not all can be helped, unfortunately. I was in a position to help you, and I saw a little bit of myself in you, so I helped you grow into the man you are today." "Well, I see myself in these people, sir. I'm driven by my guts, my entire being, to do something about it. We have enough food and places to sleep. We can get these folks back on their feet and surely be a place where the helpless seek refuge." The old man quickly replied, "It can be foolish to dream so big. Why not instead you continue building your own life? Why not build a house where you can experience the joys of owning a library that you share with your future wife and children? You could do so well for yourself, instead of these vain attempts of being a hero." The young man conceded because he loved the old man, but the feeling was not right inside of his bones. As the fireplace crackled, the coyotes howled in the distance, letting him know it was time for bed. However, the young man could not sleep. "Son, I'm going to bed for tonight. I suggest you do the same. We have a lot of work to do tomorrow and the following week to prepare us for the winter months that lie ahead." "Sure thing, sir. I think I'm going to make some tea and visit the creek and meditate for a while like you taught me. Then my mind will be ready for sleep." The old man nodded, his beard now gray, his eyes a faded green as his vision was weakening. He walked with his cane to his bed and dozed away. The young man made his tea and watched the fireplace's glow die down. He walked into the light of the full harvest moon, to the creek where the fireflies danced and barn owls screeched. He saw some deer drinking from the stream, but not too distantly a mountain lion, far from its home, took drinking the same water, ignoring the deer. The mountain lion stared at the man after it had noticed him. The deer were long gone after the man and the lion looked at each other for 2 hours. The lion then stretched and took off in a determined trot towards the foothills. The young man smiled. He looked up through the swirls of witching hour fog and saw the fireflies hovering above, then disappearing into the tall grasses. He looked up at the stars one by one. fading into the pink sky which had laid host to a new sun. In an hour he was to return to his daily labors, but he had much to tell the old man. I was expecting you to have fallen asleep again by the creek. I was just about to go check on you when I heard you come in now. Have some breakfast and coffee. We have a full day ahead of us. I don't know how we'll get everything done in time. The young man forgot his determined and practiced speech on what he wanted to tell the old man. He was unsure of how important it was, so he surrendered it to a new thought that struck him after hearing the old man worry about the work that needed to be done. What if for the cost of providing 6 meals, I get 3 of the town's neediest men to help us prepare your farm for winter? The old man stroked his beard. And how are we to know these people are trustworthy? We don't, but you do trust me. In my years of poverty gives me a unique perspective on how to find people. The young man almost stuttered. Who lived the way I once lived. The old man reluctantly agreed and set the young man off in a horse and wagon to the village square where beggars would stare blankly with hungry eyes at empty walls and oblivious passers-by. He found 3 men perfect for the job and confided in them his plan and told them not to tell the old man. They worked until lunchtime, then worked more until supper. Then the young man took them all back into town and left them with a wink of an eye. Remember, I want you each to think of 3 people who are desperate and in need. You will most definitely see me again. He handed them each 3 pieces of silver, and the young man rode off as the scarlet sun dimmed into twilight and the bats fluttered about in the sky above. Blast it, the old man said next morning over breakfast. We got so much work done for free. Please, son, your idea worked very well yesterday. Go get me more help. So as everything had gone well to plan and fell into the right order, he met the 3 workers from yesterday and asked them each where their 3 helpers were. 3 he had to bail from the village jail. 3 were sleeping in alleyways, and another 3 were found fishing unsuccessfully by the river. Now 12 people flooded the inside of his wagon that he pulled, and each of them had been given 3 pieces of silver from the young man whose savings was beginning to thin down. 24 meals were provided that day. Lunch and supper for 12 strangers was not difficult to prepare, and so the old man cooked as the team finished the work outside. The young man took the 12 villagers back to where they were found and told them all what he had told the original 3. He had to hitch a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th wagon to be able to pull all of the workers. It was more than the horse could bear, and he had to make more wagons and purchase a new horse. But having been the final day of work, there was nearly 250 people total. The labor was ridiculously easy, and the old man, not knowing his apprentice was dwindling his own savings for the help, discovered that his house had grown wider and taller. Several additions had to be added slowly, built over the course of 5 days. The young man had help in the night, taking few moments for short naps and cups of coffee. The old man realized his house was now large enough to fit more things, more books, more pianos and cellos, more collections of mead. His mind changed when it was time for the crew to be returned to the village, where thousands slept in the comfort of a home, while hundreds slept out in the cold. Dark clouds had gathered, and it was no ordinary rainstorm. Pillars of black clouds stood tall on the horizon, getting rapidly closer as strong winds took down all the mended fences. Rains flooded and disorganized their cellars, and the farm went into disarray. Sir, I know I stepped out of bounds building your home up, and I know you have plans of leisurely fun for these rooms. But let's say just for tonight and the next 3 days, we house and feed these people. The old man found the young man's empty coin purse, and his eyes began to sob happy tears. Young man, you have a heart much bigger than mine. This was your plan all along. I found out your plan on the first day. I wanted to see where it would go. Pray tell, how did you know of the coming storm? Everyone knew it was coming, and overhearing many of the men's wives, they all said this information came from you. The young man sat down with the old man, who had been his caretaker for years. He pulled out a little branch of a fern plant and placed it on the walnut table. A lion in the woods told me, as I watched the fireflies share the foods in the tall grasses of pasture. They shared the space together in the same area. There were deer who proved fearless around the lion when they shared water from the same creek. And lastly, the rising dew of night, as the sun's heat escapes the earth in the cool refuge of the moonlight, did not hide the stars, and in those stars there were past kingdoms and villages, and somewhere deep inside my very being, I knew we must create a place for the needy. The farm is already here, it merely needs to be lived in. The more rooms, the more workers, the more food, and the less work. The old man sat in his chair, humbled by the great things his apprentice had done. He looked up from his mead and said, "You possess unique talents. I believe your soul is wise." The young man had continued finding people down on their luck in a mighty need for food and shelter. Some left after a short passage of time, but many stayed as long as they needed. The hostel was free to all who came until 4 years ago, when the young man, now an old man, died without anybody to execute his living will. The people who remained were kicked out, and the village had a rise in beggars and prisoners, the likes of which had never before been witnessed. And that is why the hostel, now owned by greedy strangers, charges $3 silver per night. I was finished with my cookies and milk. Saddened by the story's ending, and noticing the time to be 3 a.m., I parted ways with the man in black. He had a hidden face, and as I went back to my room, I wondered where this creek was. I was going to go explore, but there is no re-entry this late at night, so I was confined to the hostel, its happy ghosts lingering in its halls. Unable to sit at peace, I closed my eyes and imagined the fireflies, the creek, and the fog. Outside, the snow drizzled slowly in the deadening silence of a winter night.